Hey, hi Suvesh.
Hi Madit, how are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. So we have a massive audience out there on other platforms. There's a sizable community on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. Hey everyone. With me today, I have Suvesh. All of you might already know him because for those who have already seen him, let me just quickly introduce him. So Suvesh is leading technology at Hike. For those who don't know Hike is an Indian social media, an Indian technology giant. It happened to be one of the first 10 unicorns, first in companies, first in startups in India to cross the $1 billion mark. And since then, it has grown like anything. Coming on to Suvesh, he's the head of engineering and VP at Hike. Before that, he has worked with a bunch of companies. He has led teams at Oyo. He has been the head of technology for Oyo, and he has also led technology at Amazon's Buy VIP product. Okay. He's an IT Guwahati graduate. He did computer programming to quite an extent back in 2005 or 4. We will talk a bit more on that. There are a bunch of things that we're going to talk in this session. Like you must definitely put in your questions. I have a great team working with me who is like the backbone of this particular session. I must acknowledge them at first. I have Shotali, Sukanya, Arslan, uh, and Deepti with me who are helping me in pulling this event successfully. If anyone out there wants to put up any question, they can do that in the comments. So the workflow will be like initially we'll be taking up the questions that we have received through the RSVP, through the forms that people have filled. After that, we'll move to the questions that are being posted on the comment section of all the platforms out there. We'll be noting every single question, so please feel free to ask anything that you want to, and we our team is there to take it up if possible. Yeah, great. So let's get started. Let's get started with the first question. Let's jump to the point. Yeah. So I'll put up the first thing that we will get started with. I'll quickly take that up. Okay, journey till date. Okay, awesome. So well, this is something that we would have anyway started with. Glad that the team has picked it up. So it's like you mentioned that you have worked with a bunch of companies and you've had a good computer programming background as well. Can you talk a bit more about that in detail and share that with the audience?
Sure, sure. First of all, Mudit, thanks to you, thanks for CodeChef for inviting me. I'm extremely glad to be here. CodeChef is a platform that I've used a lot in the past as well. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Especially when I was changing my first job, I remember using CodeChef to brush up my algorithms, data structure, competitive programming skills. So yeah, I'm extremely glad to be here and share my experience with the CodeChef community. Yeah, so my journey, it's been an interesting journey. Um, I think whenever I look back at my journey, I feel some of questionable decisions. I took a lot of questionable decisions throughout my journey. I remember when I went to IIT Guwahati, I did my BTech from computer science, IIT Guwahati. It was questionable, by the way, because a lot of people told me, why don't you take, another stream in another IIT? I'm from Delhi, born and brought up, so I could have stayed at IIT Delhi and took another stream. And I took quote unquote questionable decision. From my perspective, the right decision, but very questionable from a lot of people's perspective that because I was really excited about computer science. To be
This
honest,
is this is back in 2000. Sorry to cut you. This is back in 2001. Okay.
so
Okay.
2001 when I went to IIT Guwahati, and that decision, my mind was made up even before that. I remember somebody asking me, what if you don't get to IIT? I was studying it with them in there, and what if you don't get a good rank in IIT? Will you go to another college or take up another stream? I said I'll go to any college, but I want to do computer science. So maybe it was, I guess that was the only thing I could have done. So to be fair, I was just following what I could have done better. So yeah, I went to IIT Guwahati, did computer science, had a amazing time over there, learning a lot of stuff. Went to Oracle after that. Learned a lot of hardcore concurrency problems. Solving concurrency problems at Oracle. From Oracle, I went to Home Shop 18, a questionable decision again. I had offers from a couple of big tech companies. I'll not name them. But and when I told my friends where I'm going, they were very sort of quote unquote shocked. For me, it was a great decision though, and in hindsight, absolutely the right decision, because when I went to Home Shop 18, I got to be at a place where I could, build things from scratch. That's the thing I was missing in my previous organization. So I got to sort of build e-commerce platform from scratch, which we scaled up to 10 million SKUs. I guess we were the first or second e-commerce company in India to do that. So I had a lot of learning, something I always remember. Yeah, and then more questionable decisions on way. When I joined Oyo from Amazon, that was again called out as a questionable decision, but it has been one of the most fantastic decision, because again I got an opportunity to scale up teams from really scratch, like 20, 30 members team to 250, and be part of this amazing journey where we grew several X's. And yeah, and now at Hike, where I'm where we are trying to build the future of social. So that has been my journey. I call it as a sum of questionable decisions, but the only thing that I take away for myself and which I like to share with everyone is, don't be afraid of change. I think change is constant, and I think not being afraid of change and taking risk has helped me a lot.
Okay, okay, nice. On this note, I'm very tempted to ask how is Hike adapting to the changing environment out there. The space is very competitive in nature, but we will get to that. Let's take up the next question that we have received from the community first, and then we'll move to all the questions. There is a sizable amount of questions coming in, so please keep that going. And also, I'm seeing that the community is kind of answering the trivial questions and helping others out. That is really awesome. So yeah, Arslan, can we have the next question on the screen, please? Okay. Okay, while that is happening, let me just kind of ask a bit more on what you mentioned. Okay, most important learning so far. Okay, fair enough. So it's like you mentioned that you have taken these questionable decisions and all. Was there at some point in time you felt that these decisions were not the best ones? Maybe the previous one was better or something like that. And I'm not sure if have you might have stumbled across a few failures in your career. That is bound to happen with every successful leader out there. So, what are your learnings so far? If you can highlight a few of them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think people would be lying if they said they had no failures in their life, right? And I had ton of them. Obviously, first one just to begin with to reemphasize was that to still not be afraid of change. And it's not that all of my changes by the worked out successful. I had couple of changes in my career, where I went to an organization, did not work out the way I expected, and that's okay. Doesn't matter. We make decisions which may not turn out well, and we move on from there. So I think very important is to sort of build therefore a mental model. I think while failures are absolutely acceptable and the only way to learn and grow, uh, not building mental models to protect yourself in future, both in life as well as in profession, as well as coding, by the way, because in coding also we always build mental model, which are the design patterns, in a way coding patterns. Those are nothing but mental models to avoid repetition of mistakes. So it's very important to continuously build mental models. So one of my big learning has been to build those mental models in whatever failures I've seen. I remember my first time experience as a people manager was an extremely tough one. And for good or bad, I was in a situation which I was not fully prepared for, because I was never really exposed to people management until then. But yeah, very early in the career, I got exposed and I really burned my hands. And I quickly realized that I cannot scale this way. So I did a retrospection and identified the of mistakes that I had. And a lot of those patterns of mistakes were my personal biases that were coming into play. Yeah, so actually I wrote down all of them and sort of repeated to myself for the next couple of weeks to actually ingrain that completely. So yeah, the sort of the next big learning for me has been to build explicit mental models around failures. I had failure on one big technical decision I took as well. And technical decision failures are not failures of just the decision. It's a failure of how we came up to that decision through a process. So I sort of built up a process to help myself be more educated to take those decisions. So building mental models and structured mechanisms has been something which I have done a lot since then.
Okay. Uh, a lot of our people, a lot of our audience might be in that particular stage that they're still in this phase where they might have a few biases, but at the same time, they don't have a lot of history to look back up to, kind of to have that retrospection or, learnings in hindsight. So, how do they, approach this particular problem? What advice do you have for them, for the early career professionals or the ones who are, just about to start up in college or any place like that?
So one thing which I think I have underestimated in my career,
Hmm.
and my sort of overall, just generally life as well, is that I have not explored mentorship as much. So this strong advice that I give to every young professional in college, out of college, that they should look for mentors and build, a network with strong mentors who can help them, guide them, because a lot of the mistakes that we do are 80% of those mistakes somebody else would have done, and good mentors will be able to share it upfront. So I strongly advise, seeking mentors. Seek mentors. Mentors don't come to you anybody themselves, right? So seek mentors, and there are a lot of ways to do that in college, out of college. There's a lot of platforms that enable that. So seek mentors to get advice. That's something I will strongly recommend. And then a lot of knowledge today is open source in a way. So again, proactively seek that. One of the terms that I'm a fan of is continuous intentional learning. Um, so very important to continuously learn and improve, but very important to continuously intentionally learn, because the space is huge. So we should, everybody should figure out what are the problems they're facing and convert that into an intention that they want to solve, and then seek how to solve that. And there's a lot of information. For example, if I talk about people management, because a lot of people come to me and ask about how can they become better people manager if they're engineers. I tell them, go read blogs of Claire Liu. Fantastic advice on how to become a good people manager, especially if you're moving from an IC job. So there's a lot of such available repository of information.
Sure. Read blogs of, sorry, whom? I didn't get that bit.
Claire Liu,
Okay.
Claire. I mean, I still follow her blog till date. Something I've learned
Okay.
from.
Okay. Nice. Interesting. Okay. Well, moving on to the next question that we have, because there is a kind of oceans of questions pumping in on the platforms. What is the advice that you give to the younger generation who aspire to become CTOs at bigger companies like such as yourself, like Hype, you've been at Oyo and Amazon and other companies. So yeah.
So, I have this sort of equation, a very sort of simplistic equation to describe the growth of an engineer in his in his profession. Hard work, less than hard work plus smart, less than hard work plus smart plus wise. So the baseline is hard work.
Hmm.
I think there is no substitute of that. But I'll just add a nuance. It's thoughtful hard work. Hard work is not working 16 hours a day. Hard work is being thoughtful about the time that we spend. A lot of time nowadays is not necessarily thoughtful because of the distractions, etc. So thoughtful hard work is the baseline, and without that, I don't think it's very hard to grow. Then hard work plus smart. If you are not at the right place where you're passionate about what you're doing, you you love what you do, whether it's in terms of domain, the culture, the organization, then it's very hard to be successful. So it's very important to be smart, and smart implies being at the right place with the right team, doing the right thing. So again, intentionally seek out those places. Otherwise, it's very hard to grow. Otherwise, it's very hard to do your best. and then hard work plus smart plus wise. As people grow, it's very important to realize that there's an aspect of wisdom which is very important beyond the hard work and smartness. um, I have taken a couple of decisions in the past in my previous organization which were not in best interest of myself, not even best interest of my team, but were the right thing for our customers and organization. And I had no hesitation in taking those decisions. So that's the piece of wise, how you can sort of, I mean, that's one aspect of wisdom. There are several other aspects of wisdom. It's very important to be able to, take decisions from a very objective, neutral perspective. And that's how you grow. Obviously, if anyone aspires to be a CTO, some things are apart from this are, goes without saying. Building a strong engineering DNA in yourself, problem solving. A lot of fresh college grads sometimes think of coding, programming, engineering as translation of a translation of something, problem statement to code, which is absolutely fair, absolutely required, very important. Writing high quality code, writing code that is efficient, that scales, extremely important. But there are things beyond that as well, which is solving problems. So, for example, if you're in a team that is doing 10 deployments a day and 8 deployments are failing, and this happen at times, implies there's some problem. It may not be related to the code that you're writing, but there's some problem. And that's where people differentiate themselves by raising their hands and asking the question as to why are we facing these challenges and then solving them. A lot of times very easy, just automating the deployment pipeline can simplify 50% of these problems, right? But sometimes people have to raise their hands into it. And I think it's very important to start differentiating and delivering that sort of outgrown impact is what helps you grow in your career as well. And another piece of advice, just from a CTO perspective, is always think not just engineering, not just coding, think customers as well. Because at the end of the day, building technology for the sake of technology is not very useful.
Hmm.
Somebody has to use it, and they have to love what has been built. I mean, and that's a deep philosophy that we imbibe at Hike, that we build something which our customers should love. And as a CTO, and especially as an engineering leader growing, always think about customers. That customer empathy will take you a long way in becoming a strong CTO.
Okay, okay, nice. Yeah, this is interesting. In fact, Hike is one of the organizations which has been able to kind of implement this empathy aspect of customer empathy in a good manner, which is why it is competing with the likes of the biggest out there. Okay, how has ML technology stack changed over the course of time, and which way do you think it will go in the coming years? Like, yeah, it's been more than a decade. Like ML has been there for a very long time now, but yes, since when did you start this, and how do you think it has changed since then?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very deep question.
Okay.
As ML has been in various forms, and more generically, AI has been there since a long time, right? 60s, 70s, there's been AI. Obviously, the early versions of AI were sort of simplistic, where the whole idea was how can we build intelligence in a more sort of hard-coded fashion. So AI is just intelligence, emulating intelligence through machines, and that can be done by writing code which directly emulates some of that intelligence. So from there, things continuously improve. Statistical tools came out. We went into this mode of can we use data and give a feature, build out feature sets manually, and pick some algorithms and use data for the machine to learn and create a model out of it, right? So sort of variables are built automatically using data. Of course, after that, there was a big revolution in terms of deep learning. Deep learning has been extremely revolutionary because with deep learning, you can use data to automatically generate feature sets as well, and that's how a lot of computer vision problems get solved, right? Because you don't have to worry about building feature sets manually. And of course, but deep learning requires a lot of data, and now adversarial networks are becoming very popular because they can operate with less data. They can generate data automatically, basically. So yeah, it has come a long way. The good thing is also that the tooling has become very strong. Now there are cloud tools that enable people to build ML without really knowing the nitty-gritty details of it. And I think that's important because that's the only way industries can evolve. Abstraction is super important to innovate. So we have a lot of tools across all the cloud, AWS, GCP, and we use some of that at Hike as well. That helps you build these technologies. In terms of where it will go forward, I think there's a long way. I think we are just getting started by all means. I think the true test of ML would be general purpose intelligence. Today, all the models are still specifically are tuned towards a single problem. It's very hard to build any, not hard, just almost impossible to build a model which can solve multiple problems together. So building general purpose intelligence would be the true goal. And I think that's a long way ahead. But yeah, that's what I try to keep track of in terms of how much progress we are making in that direction. Um, yeah, and I think we'll see a confluence a lot of technologies. There's a lot of technologies which are still in parallel. There's machine learning, there's quantum computing, there's crypto. I feel that at some point of time we'll start seeing a confluence of them, and which will enable uh, radical innovations in future.
Right. Okay. Great. Now, this is an interesting question out there. Like, how does computer programming play a role in big tech companies? Like, uh, uh, I just want to quickly ask this question. You mentioned that when you're changing your first job, you went back to kind of code on computer programming platforms. Did you also use CodeChef back then when you were kind of, and also, do you think that is something that one must do as someone who's, let's say, at different career levels? Let's say someone at college, someone who's with 2 to 3 years of work. So I think you used it after a couple of years in the industry, and then there are people who still continue to do that. How do you think this particular form of sport helps the industry and an individual as a whole?
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I remember after I was thinking of changing my first job. I, wanted to move to a slightly different domain. I was in more in database sort of background that point of time, and I wanted to sort of brush up my data structures, algorithm, which is very important. And I was thinking of big tech company initially. As I said, eventually I did not join, but I was thinking big tech company initially. And I went to a couple of platforms. One of them was CodeChef. Did a lot of practice on CodeChef. CodeChef had both, problems there, so I could just try out those problems, see the results, and I could also participate in certain contests. So which was great because it, sort of uh, freshened up all the, older learnings that I had. I've done competitive programming by the way at college as well. Used to do competitive programming over there. And specifically to this question of the role they play in big tech companies, I think it's a very very important uh, part and parcel of learning and growing as an engineer. Competitive programming by default, a helps you improve your data structure algorithms because the base of competitive programming is data structure algorithms. Forces you to think about the fundamentals of memory performance, etc., which again in a lot of standard coding practices you may not necessarily think about. And I think competition is always good to improve. So I think and a lot of competitive programming questions are very similar to sort of questions that get asked in the interview as well. And the whole purpose over there is again to be able to evaluate how well, in terms of basic fundamentals, does a engineer think, memory constraints, performance constraints, etc. And I think therefore I think it's a great learning mechanism to get into big tech companies.
Okay, okay,
By the
thanks.
these learnings are part and parcel of solving as well. A lot of data structure algorithms that we learn as part of competitive programming gets used in the day-to-day job. For example, in my previous organization, we built a search infrastructure which scaled up to, hundreds and millions of queries, and we use a lot of data structure algorithms which actually we learn in competitive programming.
Okay, okay, nice. In fact, especially at these scales, when you look at it, things like this could possibly make a very large difference. Like especially at the scale at which Hype operates at. Do you think it has helped the industry in kind of help in, like you mentioned, that people get placed because of that? Do you think it has helped the industry in kind of getting a better set of talent, or maybe in identifying a better set of talent? First is like uh, you know, a larger number of people are able to learn because of that. Is that something that you believe in, or do you believe that this learning at the very same time is also valuable to the industry, as in what the people are picking up? This is something that the industry needs as a whole.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it goes both ways. On one side, I think it's a great way to learn. And at the other end, I think for organizations also it becomes a very good way to source talent. Sourcing is very hard, by the way. There's a lot of talent out there, but interviewing takes a lot of time. So, it's a very time intensive process. And therefore, sometimes sourcing filters are very, how do I say, not very efficient. And competitive programming platforms actually becomes a very great way to actually source good talent. And sometimes those talent may not get an opportunity to interview directly, gets an opportunity to interview where competitive programming platforms. So yeah, it runs both way. I think it has helped industry as well to source and get the right talent into their teams, which is extremely important.
Okay, okay. Oh, nice, thanks. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. Like, just to quickly acknowledge people who are putting up questions out there, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. Please keep them coming in. My team is looking at them continuously, so we'll definitely pick that up. The next question is being asked by Jay. How is Hype competing against giants like WhatsApp and Snapchat? That's interesting. I think. This space is becoming more and more crowded, but there are always front runners like be it Hype, WhatsApp, Snapchat, uh, possibly Instagram. I don't know. So where does Hype position itself strategically, and how is it really competing against these big giants out there?
Sure. I mean, our fundamental belief is that we are not competing with anybody. We are trying to build the best products for customers. So, we tried our philosophy is, customer first, and we work backwards from that. Uh,
Okay.
Specifically, of course, Hike has been in the core messaging space for a long time, but we have continuously innovated beyond core messaging.
Hmm.
For example, about 6 months back, we launched something called Hikeland, which is part of the same core Hike app, but has sort of new innovative experiences to help people connect with each other. So we have something called Watch Together, where people can hang out with their close friends and watch something together, a video, and share their experiences while they're watching together, right? So the core goal is how do we help, our dream state is to build this safe and magical place where people can connect, hang out with each other, and have fun and express themselves. So, for example, Watch Together helps us do some of that. We launched something called Big Screen, where anybody on the Hike platform can watch, again, video together irrespective of whether they're friends or not, and they can start talking to each other and build friendship online, which is a very,
Okay.
very important aspect of, as people, with especially with the pandemic, in any case, regardless of that, because everybody's online, and the social infrastructure in India is poor. Offline infrastructure in a lot big parts of India is poor. Building these online places where people can connect with each other is very, very important.
Right.
We did that. We have something called Hike Moji. You can create your sort of Hike Mojis by taking a selfie, etc., which creates your own sort of representation online, and you can express yourself in a very fun and expressful manner. So, our approach is very different.
Hmm.
Our philosophy, what we are building a magical and safe place for people to hang out and connect and build lasting friendships. So I would say very different from WhatsApp and Snapchat, and very focused on what the customers want and building on top of that.
Okay, okay. These are some like some of the very unique features that you mentioned out there. Like especially when we're talking about watching a video together and then connecting through that,
Yeah.
and it's like social plus messaging all together, and you're really innovating out there. So these are some of the big bets that you have taken in terms of even product development. when you kind of decide to build such products. Like even Hikemoji is a big success now. For those who don't know, a few of them might have seen, our camp, our outreach regarding this particular CWC. In that, the image, that cartoon that was there of Suvesh, that was a Hikemoji that was created using a selfie, which is a pretty fascinating technology in itself. So when you take these big bets, so how do you think it, kind of, how do you take these decisions? Like these are some very big decisions in terms of development and then the user behavior. So uh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so lot of ingredients, right? And you're absolutely right. Some of the things that we are building and some of the things that we have envisioned for future, that's in the pipeline to build, are not the things that we are copying from anywhere. These are our own
Right.
thought, uh, and therefore big bets in a way. Uh, so we don't know what will be successful and what will not be a success. So we always move forward in a hypothesis-driven fashion. Uh, we know their problem statements, and we learn about those problem statements by talking to our customers. Then we build a set of hypotheses by which we can solve those problems, and we test out those hypotheses by building sort of minimum desirable product oblique MVP. Push it out to a certain set of customers. We have a lot of core users who really love Hike, willing to experiment new features. So we enable that for certain set of our Hike users, and we get feedback from that. We have a lot of analytics data in terms of how they're using, and we of course do a lot of user research. We also get a lot of feedback. We have a lot of active community. They give feedback on all the feedback channels, and we iterate based on that. So problems, clearly defined problems, which we get from customers, validate through UXRs, so user research, build out MVP or MDPs. We like to use the word MDP, minimum desirable product. Launch it to a small set of users, get feedback, iterate vociferously, furiously, iterate furiously. That's how we do these things.
Okay.
Some
Okay.
of them are successful, like Hikemoji, and then we continue building on top of it.
Okay. Okay. uh, uh, I'm tempted to ask this MDP, minimum desirable product. Is this a terminology of Suvesh and Hike, or is it a standard industry term out there? Because I heard it for the first time. Just a quick question.
Yeah, so this philosophy is very Hike philosophy. I mean, the term though is not necessarily a Hike term. This is although not very well used. I think Andrew Chen coined it at some in one of his blogs, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But which is that the idea is not to build something which is viable, because viability is a business objective. If
Right.
you're building a minimal thing, that should be desirable. So build the minimum thing that is desirable. Um, our internal philosophy is, for example, if you're cutting a cake, because eventually you want to build a cake, so
Hmm.
don't cut the cake horizontally. Don't cut
Hmm.
it horizontal piece and give it to your customers. Cut a slice, so
Okay.
that you build, you build a slice, but you build all the layers. So that is our philosophy, and
Okay.
it connects with the MDP term.
Okay. Okay. Nice. This is really interesting. Okay. Just a very quick kind of a small information to our audience out there. Andrew Chan happens to be one of those people like Suvesh. He's one of the thought leaders out there, and pretty much popular in startup ecosystem, as there are a bunch of companies, including Uber, I think. But yeah, Arslan, can we move to the next question? Yep. Let's have the next question from the community now. Yep. Okay, Hike's plan for the next 5 to 7 years. Is that something that did you plan that long? Like 5 to 7 years? It's similar to those questions where people ask in interviews, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But yeah, if you
Yeah.
can answer this.
Yeah, I mean, so we definitely have a long-term vision of where we want to
Hmm.
be. And the
Okay.
vision is, sort of what I described in a way, which is to
Hmm.
build magical and hang out with each other, connect with new people, and have fun with each other. So that's our vision.
Hmm.
Any sort of product, building a 5-year long strategy is not the right way of doing it, because we want to have a fixed long-term vision, but we want to constantly iterate towards that. So that is our vision. and we'll continuously iterate upon that. Highline that we built, launched about 5 6 months back, and we are continuously iterating on top of it, is our first step towards that. We have some good news for our customers coming out soon, but that's still in works, so something which people will hear soon. But the vision remains the same: build a safe and magical place for people to hang out with each other. Some of the principles as part of this philosophy is that people, again, the offline infrastructure is not great across everywhere. The bits are getting cheaper than atoms. People are really more comfortable getting online, and technology has improved significantly that we can build new immersive user experiences. So those are our input principles to achieve that vision.
Okay, okay, nice, great. That's interesting. Okay, let's move on to the next question from our audience. Okay, let me take that. Okay, so here we have our next question. I think it's posted by Nikita. What are the most important things to remember for a technical interview at Hike? Let me also extend this on this note. Why should someone aspire for Hike in the first place? Because it kind of, as I understand, it tries to hire some of the best people out there. So it's like both ways. So if you can answer this question, why Hike and how Hike?
Sure. So, you know, I'll probably repeat some of the things that were in my mind when I was thinking of joining Hike, right? Hike is one of those places which operates at real scale. Scale brings a lot of learning, a lot of hard challenges. We have multiple of billions of messages delivered daily, scaled, through our journey of building out Hike. So a lot of exposure to scale, which is sort of unique. Culture, Hike is a very unique culture. We are strongly tech engineering and product culture, and we strongly believe in working backwards from customers. As I said, MDP is the philosophy. We don't start from revenue; we start from customers. That culture enables us to think deeper about the problems and not just superficially. Um, this culture also enables engineers, and beyond that, everybody in the organization to have a strong say in what we are building, how we are building, and be part of the innovation. We do hackathons, for example, regularly, to drive innovation across the organization. A lot of stuff that we have done, some of a lot of it actually has come from hackathons. A lot of innovation that we have done. Um, we 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 our culture also enables a tool centric philosophy. So it's not a lot of people running around manually doing stuff. We strongly believe in tools and people having autonomy to work their schedule around those tools. So I'd say culture, scale, engineering culture, engineering excellence. I think those are the value adds that Hike provides. Our general feedback internal experience has been pretty good in that regard. So yeah, I mean, that's about Hike. In terms of what to expect from a technical interview at Hike, um, a lot of things which are pretty common nowadays. Of course, coding, algorithms, data structures, problem solving. I just want to highlight the problem solving aspect, which sometimes is underestimated. It's not necessarily just the code which is valuable. It's also how you arrive at that code, which demonstrates your problem solving skills. So we look at how people approach the problem and how they solve it. As engineers progress in their career, of course, low level design, high level design becomes important. Dealing with ambiguity becomes important, and we strongly look at the culture fit as well. By the way, we have a strong culture, as I mentioned, right, where we really value our culture, and therefore it's even more important for us to ensure that fit exists upfront. People who love working in a engineering and product first culture where they're not afraid of change, by the way, and they have high customer empathy. And when you have high customer empathy, then you don't rely just on specs to do the right thing. You actually do the right thing, which is both a good learning as well as good way of execution. um, Yeah, so those are the things that we look out for.
Okay, okay. Thanks for answering that. I'm, just tempted to kind of quickly answer this question. So we have, a bunch of similar questions that have been posted on, YouTube, LinkedIn around, hiring at Hike. Okay, so for example, uh, Manish is asked on YouTube, Nihal has asked on LinkedIn, and Abhishek on LinkedIn. So, does degree matters at Hike? If somebody's kind of looking to get placed there, so do you look at degree specifically, and also do you hire freshers in the first place? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so we actually, do hire freshers, and in fact, a few months back we ran a 0 to 2 program as well, which was a structured program to hire, engineering folks with 0 to 2 years experience, because you know sometimes, in fact, a lot of times, having a viewpoint which is fresh is extremely important. So, and by the way, not just at Hike, in my, in the past as well, we have seen uh, young folks making incredible impact with their energy as well as their fresh thought. So we do hire, and we have ongoing programs around it. In terms of, do we look at degrees or not? Degrees is, sometimes, if degrees are a useful input but not the only thing, is how I would.
Okay.
If an engineer does not have an experience, then degree is a way to sort of understand what sort of exposure he has.
Right.
But usually, personally, I think that's not good enough. The additional things which are probably even more useful are, for example, have they done an internship? I think internship gives a lot of great exposure, um, and strong internship experience is probably even more important than degrees. So yeah, we
Right.
look at some of all of these things, but eventually it is the interview process, because there's no substitute to interact and sort of understand, does the frequency match or not.
Hmm, hmm. Okay. On this note, I'm tempted to ask the 6-minute question. Like when we interact with a lot of large product-based companies out there, their recruitment teams usually closely look at the competitive programming space in terms of hiring. Is that something that you believe is a decent practice to follow, or is it something that could let's answer this from the user perspective, because you've been talking about user first. So do you think it is something that users should kind of pick it up in case they want to get started in interacting with a larger community out there, in case let's say they don't have a very good pedigree or like a very good college to learn from?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. I think we do look at it. We do source from sometimes from competitive programming platforms as well, and a lot of companies do follow it as a practice nowadays. So I would absolutely encourage people to go out on competitive programming platforms and build sort of reputation through that. Uh, there has been industry-wide some big examples of very successful such collaborations where users, customers, or in this case engineers actually, who did not have an opportunity of a great exposure, were able to get an exposure through competitive programming platform. Yeah.
Right, right. In fact, this is something that even I would want to extend as a message to a lot of people out there. Uh, Especially during the pandemic, the world is pushing us to go towards online communities and learn from a bunch of other platforms in case you don't get it from your college directly. So it's something that one must definitely push from, be it from CodeChef or any other platform. But there's a massive community out there. Like Suvesh mentioned, like people like if people working at these big companies are also there. You can always, if you're able to prove your metal, there is a community who could help you as well. I want to take up two questions that are posted. So there's this one question that I'll quickly take because it's a one-liner question that was posted earlier. Does hire interns as well? Because you mentioned that internship experiences matter a lot. So is Hike someone who can help in that? Like if somebody is looking to get internships.
Yeah, we do have ongoing internship hiring program as well. I would encourage, if anybody is interested to explore Hike more, to go to hike.in, and we have a very nice section laid out on the current openings, and just generally feel free to reach out to us. Yes, love to hear more from people.
Okay, great. Thanks for answering that. There's this next question that I would want to take. that is being posted on LinkedIn by Mrinal and Satish. It's Maitri and Satish. These are all similar questions. On that note, I'll also be taking up questions that are posted, other questions, but let me pick this one first because it's been asked by multiple people out there. What is the technology stack that Hike uses? Or the programming languages or the stack as a whole. If you can answer that question.
Sure, a lot of stuff. I will just sort of share a few. It's in terms of our basic languages, programming languages. We have Java, we have Python, we have a little bit more languages, but Java, Python are sort of some of our major programming language code base, uh, major languages on which our code base has been built up. We use, of course, because we're apps as well. So we have Android, iOS apps, all native. So in respective languages, Swift, Objective C, and Java over there as well. We use MQTT as the protocol for messaging. It's a popular lightweight protocol for messaging. We use bunch of scalable databases at the backend like HBase, Bigtable, etc., to manage the messaging backend. Uh, we use um, we use Kubernetes a lot, and we are all hosted on Google. Kubernetes is very useful, very important technology to help us scale. So use that. All hosted on GCP. It's a fantastic platform to help us scale. And we use a bunch of technology like Zookeeper to manage our clusters. We use a lot of monitoring tools, which includes Grafana, those sort of tools. We have our own big data stack as well, which we have built in-house. Again, using Google BigQuery as one of the input, but a lot of that big data stack built in-house using BigQuery as one of the inputs. So yeah, those are some of the major technology tools that we use.
Okay. Thanks for answering that. On that note, I'm not sure if the community knows that, but a lot of tools that you mentioned were developed by people kind of excelling at competitive programming platforms. Some of them being ICPC finalists also. A few famous people back in 2005 and all. But yeah, okay. I do want to take up the next question. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Cool. So this is this question that is being posted by Sandhya. It's like you talked about giving internships, but what are the fields in which you give internships to people?
So can you repeat what?
uh, so Sandhya is asking, what are the fields in which you give internships to people? You mentioned that you are kind of hiring interns, and you generally do that. So what are the fields in which you typically hire interns?
I mean, in the past, we have hired across engineering, product, as well as marketing internships.
Okay, nice, thanks.
And we have
Cool. And
different openings across all of these roles.
okay, great. So kind of on this note, if you always want to kind of know a bit more on these particular job openings, you can always head on to hike.in, as Subesh mentioned, and go and check the careers website. That's an information that is already out there, so do leverage that. Okay, fair enough. uh, you know uh, Next question that I want to ask on this note. I just want to answer a quick question. Kushal is asking, tell more about CodeChef. What is CodeChef? So let me put this to you. I'm just very tempted to do this because you have been a CodeChef user yourself. Can you introduce CodeChef to the audience out there for those who don't know?
You should do. I mean, okay. Let me add. Start with the statement, but Mudit then would love you to follow up. CodeChef for me is a great place for I always thinking customer first, right? CodeChef is a great place for engineers to learn and improve their coding skills. As simple as that. That's how I would put it. As far as I know, I've used a bit in the past. There's a lot of problems that one can try out and therefore improve by trying it again and again, looking at how much time it takes. Is it successful or not? And also, CodeChef has ongoing contests all the time, so you can participate in those contests and rank yourself against other sort of fellow programmers. I think it's a great way to sort of uh, learn and see your progress. So
Okay,
good for that.
okay. Thanks for that quick start. Just to add to what he mentioned, typically what these platforms do is it's like a playground. It's like a competing ground where you can just go and compete with folks out there. So it's not one or two people or just folks around you in the college. There's a much larger community out there with whom you compete. It has to be a perpetual process. You learn over time. Okay. So when you do that, in that entire process, you end up owning your skills at a good level, at an industry benchmark level. On that note, we also kind of have started this with an academy. We have a learning program called as Learn Competitive Programming with CodeChef, where we are educating people on competitive programming bit. We've been trying to do that for a very long time because we've been trying to do that for a long time now. But with the help of an academy, we are able to kind of onboard some of the best educators and do the education part as well. Okay, cool. Let us move on to the next question that is out there. Hike recently shifted to okay, this happened. Okay, Hike recently shifted to a permanent work from home model recently, and any learnings on the challenges faced so far? Uh, a lot of companies are doing that, so yes, I would love to hear from you on this.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously in the initial bit, it was really forced, right? There was no other option. And I'm one of those guys who was initially um, even a little bit skeptical that such a model even work or not. And the reason to be skeptical is because I believe that teams build great software, right? Um, and for that whole team spirit to exist, sometimes the interactions are important. But having said that, obviously initially we were forced into it, but we realized that once we got into that rhythm, that it actually is much better. Of course, we all have biases. It's much better because a lot of overhead reduces when we're in this work from home mode. No more travel, no more sort of that fix, wake up in the morning and get ready, and there's sort of this constant thinking about getting somewhere, and it gives therefore a little bit more freedom to everyone to operate even more autonomously. And as what we of course have done at Hike is we have a bunch of tools to enable interactions. So we use communication platforms internally. We have a strong people team who which sort of facilitates communication internally as well. We do, we have an interesting Friday sort of fun event that we do online, by the way,
Okay,
which we have an amazing people team that sort of facilitates that, and various kind of events. Sometimes it's playing words, sometimes playing even tambola or whatever it is. So we have fun events. So what we have done is we have taken the learnings of offline working together, brought it to online, and also leveraged the advantages of being able to work from home and combine them. So I think for us, it has, we have done internal survey. Everybody said their productivity has increased significantly since we have done all.
okay,
So yeah, so that's why we have sort of moved into this model that we are work from home, and obviously we continuously evaluate how things are progressing. But yeah, we believe it's working good for us.
okay, nice. I think like this particular pandemic has also shown the world the importance of the very super critical importance of HR teams and the people teams, because they are
Absolutely.
really facilitating this advantage part of it that you mentioned. People don't have to travel, like especially in cities like Gurgaon, Bangalore, where
Yeah.
it takes a good amount of time to travel. It saves a lot of time. And
Yeah. No, earlier I used to get these WhatsApp messages of people stuck in traffic, some memes around them. So all of that has stopped now.
yeah, yeah, right. And in fact, like even at CodeChef, this is something that has helped us a lot. We've been able to, like, when we started, we wanted some of the best problem setters for our own contests. We just didn't want to, because even we used to have these ICPC contests definitely at IITs, but we wanted to go beyond that. We wanted to connect a global community. Now we have 180 plus countries on our platform, but back then it was completely this work from home bit that helped us scale.
Yeah,
And certainly it has some very magical outputs as well.
absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely. And
uh,
sometimes you need exceptional situations to create exceptional solutions. So in the past, for example, just going beyond the core work of my own, right? I could have never imagined schooling being online. Of course
hmm,
there are, Coursera, an academy, Udemy, doing a lot of it already. But I used to think, if I have a 7-year-old daughter, I used to be skeptical that she can't study online, right? But pandemic has forced us now that she has to study online. School is
Right.
online, and by the way, it works pretty well actually. So yeah, exceptional situations creates exceptional solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have the next question on the screen. Can you advise us on how to decide on technology for a successful career growth? Uh, uh, so this is probably on the front of a particular set of technologies that one should choose. Firstly, like, is it something that you advise that a set of people should stick with a particular tech stack while they are at a different stages of career? Let's say different. Let us split it into two parts. One is like professionals and students. How would you answer this question for them? Like uh, career growth and technologies.
Sure. So I'm just trying to understand the question, right, on technology. See, my fundamental belief is that uh, if you're talking about programming languages here or particular tech stack, we should always think of them as tools. And the job of tools is to help people do a great job or build great outcomes. And there are therefore different tools tuned for different outcomes. There is MySQL works amazingly well for a particular outcome. Edge base works extremely well for a particular outcome. Swap it and it's going to be nightmare.
Hmm.
So my strong advice therefore is not to think technology or not to think of stack. Think of fundamentals, and those
Hmm.
fundamentals remain consistent. Fundamentals are data structure, fundamentals algorithm, fundamentals how data is stored in various ways at the hardware. Fundamentals are how does compute happen, how do you scale compute. Fundamentals are networking, how does networking happen, how do you scale networking. Those fundamentals need to be strong, and if your fundamentals strong, you can sort of jump through multiple stack fairly easily. Having said that, obviously there are different tools tuned for different outcomes, and therefore, uh, whenever you encounter a new problem, then think about what is the right technology to solve that problem. So, equip yourself on fundamentals, and then start from problem, and then start with customer, and think what is the right technology that you should build to solve that problem for that customer. That's the advice I would give. And as you become a strong problem solver, you'll continuously grow. In fundamentals, I would also say one area that is underestimated is problem solving skills through structured thinking. Um, that I would advise to work hard on or intentionally work upon, because as people grow, the complexity of problems increase a lot. They can be very fairly chaotic problem statements, and being able to sort of break it down is the first step towards solving that problem. So that's an area again one can work hard on to grow themselves, yeah, in their career.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. So I think we just have last 2 minutes, so we'll quickly take up a few questions. Do you design architecture? If yes, how do you decide on the tool that you come up with in a very short time? Um,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I do both. I design architectures, I review architectures. Um, Probably a lot more of the second nowadays. But in terms of how you decide on the tool that you need to come up with in a short time, of course, a little bit of experience helps because I've seen multiple stack. Of course, it helps to keep oneself updated. So I typically try to keep myself updated to help make a decision. Of course, as a leader, it's important to surround yourself with smarter people. So the team is even smarter than me, so they always have sound choices. But most importantly, ensuring that there's a clear understanding of problem statement. I think that's very important. Um, Problem statement divided into sub problems, and knowing where we are potentially growing the next 1 year, because some of the choices really depend on that. So ensuring that we are thinking through this problem statements very clearly and are putting in the context of next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months helps make the right decision.
okay. Okay. Nice. Uh, Now we'll take up the last question in the interest of time. This is an interesting question posted on YouTube by okay. What is the future strategy to scale hike for monetization? And on this note, Also, I would like to kind of add one more question to this because it's the last question. Uh, Future strategy for Hike, and what is the future of instant messaging as a whole? What do you think about that? These are questions by Kushagra and Manish. Yeah.
Sure. So, we are still very much focused on building product, a core product, uh, uh, which we want to be one of its own kind, class apart. So, a lot more focus continues to be on building core product rather than revenue per se. Having said that, we have started doing experiments on revenue. We have, a program, a sort of a subscription mechanism in Hike already called Hikestar, but these are early experiments. Um, our whole strategy continues to be let's build amazing product, and then we will think of revenue after that. Though we have something in plan in the next couple of months, we'll hear a bit more on that. But first let's build an amazing product, solve the problem, build that amazing and safe place where people love to hang out, connect with new people, and have fun. So as long as we achieve that vision, monetization is something which can be solved easily. In terms of future instant messaging, I think the space will continue to grow. Instant messaging is, by the way, no longer about just messaging anybody. There are different formats of messaging. There are disappearing messages. There is, photo-oriented messages. There is, I would even say video-oriented messages in the same category. So I think the category will continue to grow. It's a core human need to connect with each other, and therefore a very important role uh, bit- in sort of filling up that big space in the need of society and human beings generally. So a lot more innovation we should expect in future in instant messaging.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Uh, this is interesting, especially to hear it from you because uh, one might look at it as in on today's date it's a field where it's uh, one might kind of assume that it's difficult to innovate in this space, but sometimes like Hike are actually doing it and pulling it off. Even by the likes of other players like Facebook, WhatsApp, people are doing it and changing things. Okay.
Yeah. One part of our industry is that solutions, sort of new solutions, need to be invented every 5 years because technology improves radically. There are more people online. There is better user experiences. So there's a need to innovate every 5 years. That's a necessity. So that's why innovation will continue to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we are done with our 1 hour session. There are questions coming in, but we try to take up as many questions as we could. I must definitely thank Suvesh for being here. Thanks a ton. I think it was a very interactive session. People, on YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms, they were asking about a lot of questions. There are questions coming in still. Bhargav, Sandhya, Manish, Raghav. But the only thing is that in the interest of time, we will wrap it up for now. We are looking forward to have you in the next session. Do share, like, and subscribe. The standard, tagline. But yeah, thank you very much for being here, Suesh.
Thanks a lot again for having me here. It was amazing to be part of this conversation, sharing and interacting with CodeChef community through you. So thanks for having me here. Loved the opportunity.
Thank you. I'm glad you loved it. Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe, stay home.